All right, we live, Phil.
We're live, and hopefully I'll be able to see you soon. I can't see you at the moment,
Cheers.
but there you are. I
Cheers.
can see you. Look what I've got.
Look what I've got.
Look at that.
Yeah.
People are going to be loving us right now, Liverpool supporters.
That's our unity right there.
Liverpool supporters just pressed the leave button, didn't they?
Just leave.
They've gone.
And I've even got my name on the other side in case I forget my name in the middle of the interview.
That is fantastic. And I've got the place where this was made on the other side. I think it's made in Wuhan.
I was about to say that, but I thought too soon.
And I did.
Oh my God. Now, just while people are joining us, we're talking about that this clothing is a part of the whole Christian clothing.
Yeah.
We're not sure if it's going to make it to heaven.
No, it's Christian clothing. I mean, focus on the good, focus on God, and Theo. Focus on Theo, who's a lovely person.
We all know a Theo.
I know Theo. He's a Greek guy who runs a fruit veg shop. This has started so well.
I remember I know this is going to bless people. I had a jumper that said rock and roll. And then you went a little bit closer and it says, my feet are on the rock and my name is on the roll.
Yes. There was a whole lot of those. There was the one that had, like, instead of Coca-Cola, the real thing, it had Jesus Christ in the Coca-Cola writing, the real thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure whoever made that got sued for millions from Coca-Cola.
And I feel like everyone who sold these t-shirts always had like a statistic to back it up. Like, did you know 40,000 people will see a t-shirt in the span of a lifetime?
They were also the same people who were distributing the end times flyers and watching the end times movies. I don't know if you remember the end time movies, Thomas, but Thief in the Night.
Yeah,
I mean, they were nerve-wracking. You literally would get saved.
Oh my gosh! I would wake up, Saturday morning, and I'm like, "Hello, hello,"
because you were concerned that if anyone was not going to make the rapture in your family, it was you.
Yeah. I hope we'll all be ready.
Larry Norman. I mean, This is all part of our history.
Two people walking down. Yeah. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Phil, this is awesome.
It's great to be here. We've got Kingdom Builders, Vision Impactors from South Africa, Kingdom Builders, Vision Impactors from Denmark, even from Malmö. The mayor of Malmö has joined us.
Yeah.
George, the mayor of Malmö. I mean, it's an auspicious occasion.
We got Kingdom Builders from Aarhus here.
And why wouldn't we? I love Aarhus. It's my favorite place.
Yes.
Of places.
It's a windy place, but it's a great place. Yeah.
Oh, it cracks me up.
Everybody needs an Aarhus.
Yes, they do.
Cheers, Phil.
Cheers. Again, guys. Cheers. So,
how's it going in South Africa?
Well, we are in day, who knows, of lockdown. We've stopped counting.
Star log.
Day 41.
Day 41.
Man, she is very good with numbers. That's why she's in the creative.
She's scratching on the wall. She's scratching on the wall. She just looked over at the wall and saw the light.
Yeah, she's very good with numbers. That's why she runs our creative team. Anyway, so look, I mean, we're in a fairly strict lockdown. I know you guys were in one earlier, but you're coming out of that. Our kids, you're peering out. You're allowed outside. You're allowed to go for walks. We've just been allowed to exercise from 6 till 9, 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. That's the only time you're allowed to exercise. And if you go for a run or anything, you have to wear a face mask, which
Wow.
If you're running with a face mask, I don't know if you've tried that, but I'm concerned that more people are going to get physically hurt from running with face masks than from the actual virus, because it's not an easy thing to breathe with one of those things on.
No,
but that's part of what we're dealing with. Yeah,
that's crazy. But you would feel particularly blessed not being affected by not being able to go to the hairdresser.
It doesn't really worry me. That's not a big issue for me. I have a twice yearly haircut, and in fact, my last haircut was in Copenhagen with Eric.
Eric,
he's
watching. He's watching.
Eric, I hope my hair is, thumbs up. I feel good about it. I don't think I'll be able to travel to Denmark anytime soon to get a trim, so that will have to happen in Cape Town, or maybe my wife will. In fact, in our household, Bella was threatening to cut Zach's hair, and Zach's like, Bella, that is just not happening. You know how bad that went last time. And it is true. When they were very young, Bella cut Zach's hair, and they hid the hair behind the bed. And we only found out when Zach came out, and he had this hacked fringe. We're like, what happened? And he just goes, Bella wanted to cut my hair. And
Bella happened.
Yeah, Bella happened. Exactly.
Bella happened. Yeah, I was with Eric this morning, and you were meant to be with us around now.
Yeah.
Here in Copenhagen. With Bella. So have you started any new routines in this Corona time that you think you're gonna continue on the other side?
I actually have. I mean, it took me a while to get into a rhythm. It's interesting, isn't it? I think for the first couple of weeks, I was a little like most people, a bit disjointed, and actually thinking, oh, well, this will be over, because the government said 21-day lockdown, then we'll be back to normal. But we've realized, we're not going back to normal, or what was the way life was anytime soon. And so, it's interesting. I'm actually getting up a little later than I was. I think, our routines changed a bit. I'm starting my morning with a run, and then I'm doing a garage gym workout, and then I jump in my pool because I like the cold water. I have quite a ritual, and then out of my pool, I have we'll have a homemade coffee. I don't drink a lot of coffee. This is the one I have. I sit in a certain area and I meditate. And that is my morning routine, and I'm really enjoying that. So it's starting a little bit later, but it's just become part of my rhythm. And I think it's more than just a routine; it's developing a rhythm that is so important, because part of our routine, or particularly Lucinda's, was she would get up early to take the kids to school. We don't have to take them to school at the moment. They get up and they just start school. I mean, whether we're awake or not, they don't have to put on a uniform. Literally, I went into Zach the other day, and he's in his bed with his dressing gown on, with his, coffee or whatever drink he's got next to him, and his iPad right there with the, the covers up. Just that's school. So it is very different. It's changed some of the way the house works. So we've just been going with that, and just enjoying dinner times together, and trying to make the most of it.
So, obviously in this season, there's so many, we're constantly bombarded with the newest thing that's discovered about Corona, and the government is doing this, and now we're responding to that. How are you in this season, staying focused on what you need to do without being distracted by everything?
Yeah, look, it's interesting, because I think at first, again, you're getting a lot of information, you're trying to see what's going on. But after a while, I was just like, man, I am just kind of over just every day, you know, even just watching the news every day, I've had to have breaks from watching the news because I feel like it just gets overwhelming and also distracting. Like you say, I think at first you're trying to figure out what's going on because we always like to be in control. One of the things I've learned from this whole experience is there's a lot of things I'm not in control of, and things I was in control of, I'm no longer in control of.
Right.
You know, I have less freedom, more restrictions. I'm not in control of my day and where I can go and how I can do what I used to do. I love the beach. I love the ocean. Right now, I can't go there. So learning to handle this is actually part of our, you know, our emotions. And so I think what I've decided to do is go, okay, I'm limiting the distractions and I'm focusing on the things that I can do, and I'm trusting God with the rest. You know, we're all talking about what's going to happen with church. I don't know. I'm hoping we're going to have a whole lot of people who come to our services when we join them. I can't control that. I've literally got to just trust God. You know, I mean, it's just,
we might be replanting our churches.
We might be starting all over again. But what we can do is there, you know, the thing is to look at what can we do. And I think we all need to be agents of hope at this time. I think in church leadership, we need to be bringing hope. We need to be looking for the positives. We need to be encouraging people, because there are a lot of people who are anxious and worried. And that's why I've limited some of what I'm watching and listening to, and just trying to focus on things that are going to cause me to come out of this better, stronger, and healthier, and for our church to do the same. And so the question we've started posing is, how can we grow in the midst of a lockdown or a shutdown? Can we actually grow and not just maintain? And the question then comes down to one of health, because healthy things grow. So we're asking, how do we become healthier in this time in order to grow, rather than just forcing growth? You know, you can try and force something, or you can do things with a healthy rhythm, and with a healthy rhythm, growth will come.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess, you know, you look at different signs of health, and one of them would be flexibility. You know, being able to be flexible, being able to adapt. You know, we've been talking to our church here about, you know, having this hybrid way of thinking, you know, that we can go this way or we can go that way, but we can quickly adapt to changing circumstances.
Yeah, I think here's what I've realized, and you know, probably a few people have been saying this, but a crisis, if you want to call this a crisis, it is, I suppose, in many ways. A crisis actually reveals things. So it reveals your conviction. You know, what do I really believe is revealed in a crisis. What is, you know, so my convictions, my character, who I am is revealed in a crisis. It's not revealed when everything's great. No one cares about your character, or no, it's kind of, you know, you're a success. Isn't that wonderful? But in a crisis, your character matters. It should matter all the time, but we see it in a crisis. How you respond, how you handle difficulty, how you face changing environments, your conviction. What do you really believe? What are you all about? You know, for a kingdom builder, their giving capacity may have changed. Maybe their business isn't functioning at the level it was, but if their conviction is, well, I'm a kingdom builder, then it doesn't change their action or their behavior. It may mean I can't give the way I could, but I'd have a deep conviction that I'm building the kingdom of God, and so I'll find a way to do that. And so crisis reveals that about our conviction. It reveals our character. It also reveals culture. And so, you know, for your team, you talk about your team creating this hybrid. If there's a culture of flexibility and a culture that is prepared to change and adapt and quick to pivot, that's a cultural thing. And you know, some organizations have struggled. You know, some people have struggled. Some people are like, you know, I can't. You know, this. How do we do this? And I get that we all face that to some extent, but culture that is prepared to be flexible, jump on to, well, how do we do this now? Try new things, be prepared to fail. This is really important. And I'm just been so proud of our culture. I think you guys have got a similar culture there where you've gone, hey, we got to do things differently, guys. What does that look like? For us, we've gone, we can still pastor our church through phone calls. I think since lockdown, we've made over 20,000 phone calls to our church. And we've made it a priority, and we've put a strategy together and said we can connect with people. Just make a phone call, see how you're going. And so, you know, what can you do rather than what can't we do? And that's revealed in your culture that says, let's look for the solution, not just let's be overwhelmed by the problem.
Yeah. I was reading the other day this book, and they were talking about this guy who was getting a health check, and the doctor was getting this guy's pulse all the way up, and he's like, "Oh, are you measuring my pulse?" He's like, "No, I'm getting your pulse to the maximum, and then I'm going to measure your recovery, because health is not about how much you can do; it's actually your recovery rate."
Yeah.
And I was, you know, you're talking about healthy culture and healthy organizations. I guess part of that as well is our ability to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes down to health. You're totally right. And I think there's a number of analogies there as well, because another one to look at is if you do any training at the gym, which, you know, look at you, the beast that you are, Thomas Hansen. What you'll do periodically is you'll check out what your 1 rep max is, your RM. And your 1 rep max is how much can I lift? Now, you don't go for that all the time, but your goal is to work out what is that now, and then you go backwards to lighter weights, and you work up slowly. And the goal is to keep getting stronger. So you keep improving on your 1 rep max over time. And, you know, the interesting thing is that we're facing this. There is time involved in this. Time is actually, and I talked to your team about this. I talked to our team about it as well. Even in a crisis like this, time can be our advantage if we use it well. If we're going, okay, well, my 1 rep max was here. Now it's here. We've never made this many phone calls before. We've never done this before. We've never tried to do church online, but we're giving all these things a go. And what we're doing is slowly over time, we're building our strength in new areas. And sometimes it takes a crisis to expose us to new ways of looking at things, which are going to strengthen us in ways that we never would have before, because we're so locked into our normal ways of doing things.
I guess there has to be, from any leader, like there has to be a level of humility as well, to be able to read the data and adjust to it, and not just go your own way because you think that's the right way.
Yeah, you know, I think humility is an interesting concept, because it doesn't mean you aren't you know, strong in your conviction, but I think humility is the capacity to be able to say, you know, hey guys, we tried this and it's not working, or the ability to listen. You know, if you're proud, you know, I suppose the opposite of humility, you often struggle to listen to anyone else's opinions. It comes out of an insecurity that you feel like you have to have all the answers and you have to have the right way to do things. But humility is, you're still leading, but a humble leader recognizes that other people in the room may have a better idea, and they're prepared to listen to that, and they invite that kind of you know, initiative. And so, you know, I think it's really important that, you know, that humility with conviction. You know, what we're doing here in South Africa, what you're doing there, we're called to build a church, to build a nation. That's our deep conviction. Yeah. But how we get there requires a whole lot of different people to bring their thoughts to the mix. I don't have all the answers. In fact, sometimes a humble leader is prepared to say, I have a deep conviction, I'm just not sure how to get there right now. And they are prepared to ask the right people, to seek wisdom, counsel, bounce ideas off people. That's to me real humility. It's not just saying it's not me, it's God. You know, I mean that's kind of yeah.
No, but it was you. No, it wasn't me.
Yeah. You know, real real humility is that idea that I play a part, and maybe I have a significant responsibility to lead and an accountability to do that. But I'm humble enough to go, there are other people who can help us get there, and I want to listen to them. And I don't want to pretend I have all the answers, because I don't think anyone has all the answers right now. We're all learning, and we're learning from each other, and there's new information coming up and different things that we're responding to all the time.
Yeah, I love that. It's a side note. I was talking to someone the other day who was like an expert in Greek language, and he was saying that it wasn't until the life of Jesus that humility was actually a compliment.
Wow. Yeah.
That before Jesus, humility was, someone that was looked down upon, but it wasn't until Jesus showed us servant leadership that suddenly after the life of Jesus, it showed up in Greek literature as a compliment about someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty,
look, I mean, the more you read into how Jesus conducted himself, the more you recognize, he had incredible strength, but just this incredible humility in everything about him, and it just so many times it's so contrary to what we can get caught up in society today, in trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove our identity, try to prove our worth. And Jesus was quite the opposite to all of that.
Yeah, I think maybe part of our challenge is that in temporary seasons we often want to make these permanent decisions when really I think what all of us are trying to do is figure out what kind of scaffolding do we need right now. Scaffolding that we're going to put in place just for a season. That's not part of the permanent building, but we're just going to put it up for a season.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
One of the things I've been asking as well is, what do we do about...
There's a lot of love. Every time we have a drink, there's so much cheers. So much cheers.
One of the things I've been asking is, what are the things that I'm learning that I want to keep after this? Not everything, as you say, but there are some things, and we're having a joke about, United and football, but one of the things I've realized is that I can get so distracted by sport, and there's no sport on right now. And so I think, like you, I've been talking to you a bit, and every time I was talking to you for a while there, you were painting your outdoor, little garden area, or your indoor outdoor, your man shed, and it's like suddenly, and I've been out in the garden more than ever, and I've been cleaning and organizing and redoing the garage and sweeping, and actually the amazing thing is I feel really good after that, probably far better even if my team wins than I do sometimes when I'll sit on the couch and I'll watch sport, sometimes for 3, 4, 5 hours. I can watch cricket, I can watch rugby, I can watch football. I love all sports, and I just have become aware, my goodness, I can get distracted from that, and maybe I need to limit some of that in order to, because there's other things that are far more productive. So it's just interesting to see how you take some of these things out of the equation and you find yourself more productive. I mean, if this hadn't happened, Thomas, you wouldn't have that beautiful outdoor area and that painted man shed. I mean, it would be good intentions. It would be good intentions, wouldn't it? But it probably wouldn't have happened.
No, I would have had to ask, like, Jesper, who's here with me, I would have had to ask him to come and help.
Jesper needs to come down to South Africa and help me.
So your prayers at the moment, I know that's obviously a personal thing, but how are you praying for clarity, courage, conviction in this season? Because I guess there's this whole balance between being full of faith and fearless, but it's like, but we don't want to be reckless either.
What I would actually say is I've been practicing meditation, in Christian meditation, using an app, and listening, and just not for a long time. Can be 3-5 minutes, maybe sometimes a little longer than that. And so really, I'm just trying to be more in touch with God
Right.
than actually getting a specific word from God. And what I've found is I've been teaching a series, just thought, okay, let's look at Paul. Paul was in lockdown. The app, there's 2 apps. One's called Soul Time, which is really good. And there's another one, a newer one that someone sent me called Quiet Time, which has a little more in-depth, a Bible reading, and then you read the verses, then there's an explanation, then there can be a little discussion, then there's a prayer. So Soul Time or and Quiet Time.
I'll give a little shout out. I've done a few meditation videos as well that people can.
Okay. Where can they find those?
On my Instagram, Thomas Hansen.
Okay, Thomas.Hansen. Yeah. So then I feel like that's just given my, maybe my spirit's freer, and then God's speaking to me more clearly. And yeah, so then we've been doing this series from Philippians. Paul writes the Philippians from prison. And what I'm amazed at, and I think all kingdom builders need to hear this because we're all kingdom builders, is he is so overwhelmingly positive. So
Yeah.
Paul is in prison. Like, his plans have been ruined. He was planning to go to the Philippians, but he can't get there. He's in prison and he might die. Like, he's writing going, guys, this could be the end.
And this is not like a Scandinavian prison with a PlayStation no.
This is horrible. And he's writing, but he's so positive. He's like, well, if, guys, I may die, but to live is Christ, to die is gain. And we read that, we get that tattooed on us underneath, your Manchester United logo or whatever you have tattooed there. But, the power of what he's saying is he is overwhelmingly positive. If I live, I'm going to live and build the cause of Christ. But if I die, I'm with Jesus. And so, that positivity is so powerful. It just blows my mind. I've looked at this with a fresh perspective, and I think understanding a little more of a lockdown of someone in a season like that where their plans are radically changed, but can still be so positive and still say God's still at work, the gospel's still advancing. And I believe everyone, here in Denmark, we need to understand the gospel is still advancing. And to keep that positive attitude, the only reason Paul could have that was because his spirit was full of God. If he gets negative, I mean, it's just going to be, I'm going to die. It's all over. Think about the negativity that we can spew out sometimes. He's in the worst, and he's speaking with this positive faith. And I just think, it's not if we're inside, it's what's inside of us. That's the big question I'm asking myself.
Yeah, and I guess, we're talking to kingdom builders, and kingdom builders are obviously, linking into this. And I think sometimes we can so quickly think about, what do I need to do? But really, if this is a reminder of anything, the focus should be on who do I need to become?
Yeah.
And
that's
out
right.
of that comes all the solutions and, all the rest of it. I was thinking of, when they make the pipes for the oil drills, how they put these pipes under pressure that is way more than the pressure they will ever experience in real time. And I guess maybe this season here could be one of those testing times where all of us are getting maybe pressure that we won't experience again in our lifetime. But it's going to show us what we're made of.
Absolutely. I was sharing with our team this week this idea: high control, no trust; high trust, no control. So the idea is that we often want to control things. We like to be in control, but the more we're in control, the less we need to trust.
Right.
if I'm driving the car, I'm in control of the car. I don't have to trust the driver because I am the driver and I trust myself. But if my wife's driving, Thomas, and
yes, Phil,
she's a great driver. Let me just,
are you going to go there?
Ice, I know. This is why we have two cars, Thomas, so we can each drive separately. It's good for marriage. But the thing I've realized is that when someone else is in control, your level of trust goes up. Now, right now, there's a lot of things that are out of our control. Things that, we used to be in control of, to do with our potentially the economy, the contracts, the business, the jobs, all of that. We could set a budget and we were pretty much, going to be aware of how it's going to look. Now we don't know. We're not sure. There's so much more unknown. So control has dropped, which means trust has to grow. So our trust in God has to increase at times like this. And that's why that, crisis reveals our conviction. And for some of us, it means going back to that place of trusting God. We used to be there, but maybe we've got to a place where we build a level of success. We've got a whole lot of control. And now, because of all this, some of that's been stripped away and we have to go back to that place of trust. I have to do it with my team. We're not meeting in offices. We can't see what everyone's doing. There's less control over our team. We got to have higher levels of trust. Trust that they're doing the work. Trust that they're doing their job. So if you want greater trust, you're going to have less control. If you want more control, you're going to have less trust. And that's something that I'm learning from this, is I am trusting God more than ever before because I have less control. And so that idea of the pressure comes and asks you, well, who do you trust? Who are you trusting at this time?
Yeah, that's amazing. Because it's that need for control. Hey, it's what feeds anxiety. Trying to control things you can't control.
Yeah, exactly. That's where anxiety, stress, all of that worry comes from needing to control things. And when you let go of that, you let go of the worry, the anxiety, it changes you. It really does. And I mean, Jesus talked about that in Matthew 6. Jesus was very strong on this idea of don't worry, stop worrying. Learn to really trust me. And these are times when we have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the great equalizer at the moment. What do you think? Do you think leadership is going to change? On the other side of this, obviously we're picking up a whole bunch of new tools out of the toolbox. When we get back on the other side, whatever that means, do you think there's certain things that you've picked up in your leadership, for example, leading a big organizations? You got, 10, 11, 12, 20,000 campuses in South Africa, a massive church, massive staff. Do you think there's new tools that you picked up in your leadership that's going to change?
Yeah, and one of them that I'm reading more and more about, and I have seen that just in the way we've been working together, is, just to be more empathetic and more aware of what's going on within your team. Right. And obviously it's hard to do that with everybody, but we can become so task focused, so focused on just the function, that there's very little relationship, very little, friendship, dynamics. And I think what's weird is that even though we aren't seeing everybody the way we would, we're trying to make Zoom or the connections we have be about what's happening in your life a little bit. So yes, we're talking work, but we're also, hey, what have you been up to? What's been going on? What's your story? And so adding that dynamic, I think the relational element is really critical. That sense of caring, I'm interested in who you are, not just what you do. We've got members of our team. I mean, you've got young kids. We've got a whole lot of our team who have young kids. So, it's our kids. It's easy for them doing online school. They want to kick us out of the room. But for some parents, you've been teacher.
And what a blessing it's been.
You've learned.
What a blessing it's been.
I did see one thing I thought was quite funny on social media. Someone saying, "Oh yeah, we're homeschooling our kids, and at dinner tonight, one of our kids said, I hope I get a different teacher next year," which obviously, as a parent, that can really be quite hurtful.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a big
I
one.
also saw that people are talking about it's going to be a baby boom, but really, I think the general consensus is that that's going to be first-time parents.
I think it's first-time parents. I think anyone with kids is going, okay, we don't need any more. This is well and truly enough.
Yeah.
There's another pandemic. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that genuine relational connection is something that really is coming to the forefront. I think it's something we can develop out of this. And what I believe is I've had a bit more time to think, and thinking time to me is so important, so critical. We've almost seen that as a luxury, as if I'm not doing something, there must be, I'm not hustling, I'm not but actually taking time to withdraw, to just think, is really helping you to get out of everything you're in the middle of and give you creative thought. And that takes time. Your brain, I think there's neuroscience that talks about the need to step back out of the action, the activity, and to just reflect. So I think there'll be a little more reflection. I think there'll be a deeper level of empathy, hopefully of relational connection, thinking through and then stepping into. One of the things we've been talking about is productive patience. So, in a season like this, you need to be patient, but patience doesn't mean I do nothing. Oh, well, we can't do anything. That's an excuse. That's a give up. But productive patience is going, well, maybe I can't do some things, but I can still be productive. What does it mean to be productive in this season? So we want to go to Durban in the future, launch church there. And so, okay, we're going to be patient right now with when we do that, but we're going to be productive. So we've got members of our team looking at what is the best option for us. It looks like commercial real estate, maybe, getting cheaper. So we're looking at, we're going to do all the numbers, but be patient for the best deal. And,
awesome.
So use those times rather than jumping at the first thing, taking time and really making it effective, using that time well.
That's brilliant. I should just mention that if people want to ask questions, there's the chat function that everyone can see, but there's also a little Q&A tab that you can press and ask questions. I think on the iPad it's in the top, on the computer it's in the bottom. On the iPhone, I'm not sure. I don't know. Just find it. It says Q&A. You can click it, ask a question, and we will receive it.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our best with it. I think there's a quick assumption that everyone's season is the same. I don't know about you. Just like, well, you and I, we talk on a fairly regular basis. That's daily, and we're in different season, obviously, with our children.
90% stupid, 10% intelligent, productive, helpful. But it's the way it should be.
Yeah, this is the helpful stuff. The rest of the week is now just stupid.
Yeah.
People don't want to see our chat history, but
it's deleted.
It automatically deletes and encrypts.
Yeah.
But it's easy to assume that everyone's in the same season as you. Like, oh, we've got so much time on our hand, and people with small kids are like, what time? Like everyone's different.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's on a lot of strain at the moment in this season is for married couples. Sorting out, like, how do you do this? You're in lockdown, obviously with your wife, with your kids. How have you and Lucinda and the kids, how have you done this? Like, in terms of giving each other space, but at the same time being in each other's space, and the rest of it.
Yeah. Look, I mean, one of my taglines during the lockdown is do the dishes, earn the kisses from the missus. And I have washed more dishes, cleaned more than I ever have before. Because we don't have, well, now just since Friday, there's now takeaway, not takeaway, delivery. You can't take away meal, you can get delivery. But basically we've had to cook all our meals. So, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you are cooking everything. So the kitchen is, never had more work than it ever has. It's, so, I mean, and your dishwasher's going and the whole thing is, happening, and you're cleaning and your pots and pans and all the rest of it. So there are stresses. I think for everybody, there's no perfect family. Like our family, I think we love having meals, particularly dinners are what we have together. But, every now and again, someone will get ticked and irritated, and someone will say something, and someone will storm off, and someone will yell at someone. And, I mean, that's just the reality. And I think we can't assume that everything's going to be perfect. We can't expect that our partner's going to be perfect, that they're going to have a great attitude every day. So that's why, to me, and I know it depends maybe on your season and with the kids, but something like taking time to be still before God and getting some kind of meditation, something that quietens your spirit, can set you up for the day. I've just found that really helpful. And just when I'm getting irritated, to go back to that place and just go, okay, hang on, take a deep breath. In fact, I was teaching my son that rather than, Zach, he's awesome. I was saying, Zach, when you get angry, just count to 3, all right? And before you shout, before you get aggressive, before you, count to 3, and then, take some deep breaths, and you'll be amazed at how it will change. And the other day, it was so funny. He was so irritated, and I just saw him. He just goes, 1, 2, 3. And he goes, Dad, it's not working. It's not working. he was still, but I mean, look, it's just, I think that
he actually
it's a weird.
Do the math.
Yeah, he's actually,
because you can't. Psychologists say you can't be logical and angry at the same time, because it's 2 different parts of the brain.
That's very good. Yeah.
So you should say count backwards from 121 in increments of 3.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, your answers are all over the place, and which is why we make stupid decisions when we're angry. So you force yourself to be logical, and the anger dissipates.
Yeah, because emotionally you've lost why you were angry, because you've gone into logic mode.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. I love this. From now on, when Lucinda and I are arguing, I'm going to stop in the middle of it, and I'm going to throw an equation at her and see what happens.
Bam!
Yes.
It's like a beautiful mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than throwing a cape on her.
Yeah, or having her throw something at me. That's like a physical something. Yeah. So look, I would say this though. Look, if people are really struggling, there are people you can talk to. Like we do. What's good about our relationship is we do have fun and laughter, and I think that lets off steam for both of us. And I've got a few friends like that. You've probably got a few friends. You just need to have a few people in your world that you can have a laugh about things with, and give them a phone call, have a FaceTime. Sometimes just get yourself out of the room, change the environment. Go for a walk if you can. Whatever. Do 10 push-ups. Do something to change that moment, and just to help you in it. But we all face those, and we have the pros and cons. I mean, we love that we're all together as a family because our kids are growing up, and this may be the last time we have a time like this. Bella's finishing her high school, doing her matric. She may end up in Copenhagen. She's looking at, school there, university there. So, for us, we're trying to make the most of this. And
Yeah.
but there are real moments, and I think we've got to acknowledge them. I think being honest, being open, and having good conversations as well. Like Lucinda and I try and have a little bit of time where we just get to chat sometime throughout the day, where it's just us, and that really helps.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, with I'm just taking a few of the questions. With leading an organization, or for you, it's obviously a church. For other people, it would be a business. How do you, what have you put in place to actually, you're talking about trust and control, but how do you still gauge the health and engagement of your organization and of your team?
Well, some things, I mean, that comes down to measurements. Like, okay, the health of your team, you do have to have some actual measurements. So we have some actual measurements, which are, we have goals for how many phone calls we want to make, and we can see who's making the phone calls, what locations are making the phone calls, what teams are making the phone calls. We have goals for different leadership groups, and we can see, okay, who's really taking this seriously and doing that. Maybe our measurement has changed from what it used to be, which used to be, connect group gatherings, but maybe now they're Zoom gatherings. It used to be a gathering of, how many are coming to a service. Well, we can't do that, but we can measure different things. You've just got to know what are the measures of health, because some things are a measure of deeper issues. So if I look at our locations and go, oh, wow, gee, they've made 500 phone calls and this location's only made 20 phone calls. Well, what's the reason for that? And, that's going to be a conversation. And is it because they have less people? Actually, we've had to buy data for some because, they want to do it, but they physically can't afford it. So maybe it's a practical reason. But, health is always something you can measure. You can measure it. You just have to make sure you're measuring the right way, and you're not reacting to what you're measuring, but you're asking the deeper issues. Maybe it's just that a leader doesn't understand how important that is. Maybe they're not prioritizing it because you haven't communicated to them that this is what matters right now. And so that can come back to us asking the question, am I communicating with my team what really matters in this season? What are the high things? What are we celebrating? So each Tuesday we get our team together, we celebrate certain things. So we celebrate with our whole team, all the staff, everybody on Tuesday morning. One of the things we're celebrating right now is how many phone calls have been made. We're celebrating, how many food parcels we've given out. We're celebrating how many groups met on, Zoom or however they met. So all these things we celebrate. What you celebrate, you reciprocate. And so if we celebrate certain things, then that becomes the focus. So you've got to make sure you are looking at measuring the right things, and that means also, Thomas, you can't just compare to what other people are doing. You've got to look within the context of what you're building. Yeah. So we're doing online church. And then I'll hear stories like, Chris Hodges or Craig Rochelle, 10,000 people got saved in their online service. And, you're like, oh my goodness, why do I even bother? But maybe that's the wrong measurement for me. Maybe our measurement needs to look different. Like we know in South Africa,
if everyone wants to see what yours and my relationship is like, that's it right there. Okay.
Thomas mentioned something and then I go, well, we did this, and Thomas's balloon pops. It's good, Thomas. It's teaching you humility, and it's helping you to think bigger. It's all of those things. It's helping you grow.
Thank you, Master Phil.
That's what I'm there for. But it is really important that we're not comparing ourselves in a way that's unhealthy either. Yeah. But we're running our race and we're looking at our context. So like I say, in South Africa, there's some people who we've been putting our messages into WhatsApps. So it's a low data option, so people can get access to it because data is expensive here. So you've got to understand the culture and where you're at, and make sure you're measuring effectively to where you're at.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I guess it is a time as well to see who rises up and who hides of your leaders and of your team.
Are you riding or are you hiding? That was one of my thoughts last week to our team, which came from when I did the Cape Epic, which is a mountain bike race that goes for 7 days. It's an absolute brutal thing. And when I was training for it, it was one Saturday morning and it looked like it could rain, but it wasn't raining. And one of my training partners texted me and said, "Are you riding or are you hiding?" And it just hit me right. And I'm like, oh man, he's asking, am I making the excuse and pretending? And I'm like, that's it. Get on the bike and just go, you know? And I think right now in seasons like this, some people will make the excuse and other people will get out and ride. And it doesn't mean you have to have the best ride. It doesn't mean you have to do the best, but you should do something. And measurements help us to see who is doing something and then ask the deeper questions. If you're not, why not? Are you just being lazy? Are you confused? Are you freaked out? Are you overwhelmed? Or are there legitimate reasons that we need to help you so you can get moving forward and productive?
What would you say, we've got a few minutes left, but what would you say to, obviously we're kingdom builders here. Kingdom builders, they are, they have a desire to build the kingdom, obviously. And maybe their ability right now is weakened, and there could be a whole sort of feelings of shame or guilt that they can't commit or do what they committed to. What would you say to them?
Well, look, it's like anything. Things hit us that we're not expecting, and what I love is, again, in times like this, reminding myself God's in control. And God's grace is there and God's grace is sufficient. And, I know in our church, and I've no doubt in, Denmark, people are doing their best. And I trust that we have great people who are doing the best that they can. And I think you've just got to, again, realize, over time, things change. And right now it may be a tough season and it may remain a tough season for people's giving for some time. But to me, if there's a conviction, you're just going to do what you can. And, learning to give in a tough season sometimes, or continuing to give in a tough season, maybe even if it's at a smaller amount, can sometimes be harder than giving a bigger amount when everything's great, So to me, it's never about the amount. It's about the heart and about the spirit. And, that's what Jesus was all about. Jesus celebrated a widow who gave a small amount, but he celebrated her because he knew the heart and the intent behind it. And, to me, that's all that matters when it comes to kingdom builders. I believe we've got some amazing people who are going to build phenomenal businesses whose careers are going to go forward. And maybe this is a season when, things aren't exactly where they'd like to be, but that's okay. Just keep the right heart, keep the right spirit, learn through it, grow through it. And together we're going to keep building church. And, we have some seasons that are really prosperous, some seasons, winter months, spring, summer. We see these seasons throughout life. And what I do believe is I believe this season can make all of us stronger in regard to who we are, the conviction of our spirit, our understanding and our trust of God, so that when the good times do come, and they will come, I have no doubt there will be really great, prosperous times ahead, that people will have learned from this, and it will make them better able to handle the blessing and success and prosperity that God brings their way.
Amazing.
Because the thing is, you value, when you've been through a tough time, you value success more.
Right.
When you've had to say, okay, I'll take a pay cut, when you had great plans, it was all going, and then suddenly it's not what it was. Okay, that hurts. There's a reality to it. But you also understand as you get through that when you get on the other side of it, you just value everything so much more. People say that when, oh man, they had a near-death experience, or a potentially a disease that could have taken them out, and they get healthy again, it's like, man, I'm living differently. I'm valuing days more because I went through pain. And so pain is a great teacher. I don't wish it upon anybody, but I know that painful times in my life have produced something great in me. And so I pray that is what will happen. Any kingdom builders who are going through really tough times, going through pain, that God is going to produce something incredible in them through this, that is going to make them better, stronger, more resilient people, more wiser people, more generous, more understanding of God's goodness in the years, days and years to come.
That's amazing. I guess I think this is one of the reasons I love local church so much. Like the business people, can have a community like this that can, help encourage and carry in seasons that might be, tough, and that so quickly isolates people and they just have to do it on their own. Local church is here to help and carry and encourage and pray, and it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I love about the Kingdom Builders community, is that it's a community. So, there are times when some people are doing great and others are struggling, but you're not on your own. And I know in South Africa, I'm sure, with you guys as well, that Kingdom Builders encourage others. They've built over the years, over time, they've built these relationships. So there's, prayer to each other. There's, hey, just someone to talk to. This is what we're facing. This is what we're dealing with. And, knowing you're not alone, being part of a Kingdom Builders type community is so helpful and so healthy. And exactly, Thomas, that's what the local church is all about. And, to me, Kingdom Builders, as much as it is about a amount of giving and finance, and building the kingdom externally, it's also internal. When you're a kingdom builder, something is building inside of you. There's something inside of you that is growing because you're choosing to be part of this. And that's what I love about it. That's what I've seen. Lucinda and I have seen in our own lives. We started giving into Kingdom Builders when we were youth pastors in Sydney, had a small income, and had a deposit, basically saved up for a house, and pretty much were like, well, I want to give a whole lot of this. And Lucinda was like, I feel it as well. Let's do it. And it was a massive stretch for us at the time, but it just did something in us that made us, totally more reliant on God than we ever have been. And just seeing God provide in so many ways since then, that journey is what we're all on, and it's powerful.
So good. Well, hey, Phil, I think on that, we got a cheer.
Time to cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Hey, this has been unbelievable. And hopefully more than me have been blessed by it.
I hope everyone has. It's been good fun.
It's so good. Hey, thank you so much. We love you. We love your family and everyone in South Africa. And can't wait to see you in the flesh.
Yes. Love you guys too. Really, I miss Copenhagen for the organic hot dogs.
Yes.
The almond croissants.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And your family and your church. Church is awesome. Your girls are pretty special as well. I know they love Uncle Phil. So,
They do. Even though Bella sometimes calls you Auntie Phil.
Yes.
Even though Bella always addresses you with full name. You're never just Phil. You're always, hey, Phil Dooley.
Yeah, Phil Dooley. I appreciate that. To me, it's a sign of respect.
Yeah, it's honor.
Which I don't get that from my own kids, so I appreciate it from your Bella.
Well, I don't get it from her either. So it's not she's giving someone honor.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. But hey, we want to say thank you to all the Kingdom Builders out there as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Not only watching, but also you're leaning in this season. You guys are absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we're praying for everyone. We really are, and really appreciate everyone's support and believing that through all of this, like we've been saying, we're going to get better. God's teaching us a whole lot, and we're going to continue to grow and continue building church together.
Yeah. All right. Bless
Beautiful.
You.
See you later.
Ciao. See ya.
Bye.